After studying this module, you shall be able to know about footprint and their collection. You will learn about various types of footprint. You will be able to examine footprint and their evidence submission. Examination and comparison of design, size or shape of footprint is useful in criminal investigation for leading a case in appropriate direction. Several research has been carried out to prove that the footprint are unique to a person and have high value in court of law. In footprint, the parameters that are taken into consideration are the dimensions of the stride, footprint's location, its size and shape, the angulation, interspaces, deepness and the outer margin, creases and hills, information regarding the gait pattern from the injuries and accidental damages, length of legs and height of the individuals, range of body weight and interrelated movement of the foot, ankle, leg and the body that are individualistic to the particular person. Now, let us learn about the purpose of investigation of a footprint. The purpose of the present investigation is to study the shape, size, alignment of the toes, humps, creases, cuts, cracks, pits, etc. of the foot, so as to draw conclusion for individualizing characteristics. In addition, the occurrence or frequency of some of the foot characteristics was also recorded in the population under study. Establishing a relationship between the accused and the crime is of paramount importance in every crime scene investigation. There are about 26 bones, 33 joints, that is 40 of which are actively articulating, and more than 100 muscles, tendons and ligaments in each human foot, along with considerable variations in its component parts. These variations are reflected in the degree of influence of every part to the function of the foot or entire. These variations are responsible for differences in the pressure distribution and weight bearing through gait, making each footprint unique. Now, let us see the types of footprints. First one is visible print. A visible print is a transfer of a material from the shoe or tire to the surface. This kind can be observed through naked eye without extra aids. For instances, bloody shoe print leftward or carpet or tracks left by muddy tires on a driveway. Next category is of latent print. A latent print is not easily observable to the bare eye. This is formed by static charges between the sole or tread and the surface. Investigators uses powders, chemicals and alternate light source to observe these prints. Illustration comprise shoe prints identified on a tile or a hardwood ground, window sill or a metal counter or a tire track detected on a road surface, driveways or sidewalks. Others are phalange marks. Phalange marks are created by the phalanges of the toes and are imprinted in the form of toe steams. The presence or position, shape and size of phalange mark forms the characteristic feature of footprint and can help in personal identification. Next is crease marks. Crease marks are caused by skin folds of the planar surface of the foot. Some of the folds are long lasting while others are not. Both types of creases form a useful evidence to identify individuals. Their presence, position, size and shape are characteristic of a person. The existing study demonstrations that in various cases they may be no creases mark, or there are one or two or several creases corresponding in some individuals. Creases are vertical, horizontal or crossed in others, or they may be different in directions. Besides this, in flat-footed subject of the person or a present study shows that creases marks are frequently seen at the center of foot. It is further observed that the number of crease marks in a flat foot is more than the normal foot. Next is the pit's cone deformity and crack marks. It is well known that the individuals who have the habit of walking barefooted, the plantar surface forms pits, cones, cracks, cuts, etc. They have their corresponding marks, that is imprints. The damage in the form of pits or cracks is individualistic in a nature and permits the definite identification of the marks in the respect of its source, thus linking the marks with the foot of a person. In the North Indians, that is the Gujars, of the present studies clearly demonstrates the formation of pits that might be due to the habit of walking barefooted. An unusual flat ridge in the instep area of both left and right footprints is seen. Next is the flat foot character. Flat foot is a condition in which complete instep region of the planar surface of the foot is impressed on the surface. The flexed or curved area is not visible in the flatted as in normal foot. That is, the medial and lateral borders of the foot can clearly be discernible in the flat foot. This condition is considered as a deformity, and the recruitment into the military and police forces is restricted for such persons having this condition. In the present study, the flat foot condition exists in 1.54% of the population. The condition shows a significant bilateral variation in both left and right feet of a same person. It is found in an individual that one foot is flat and other is normal. The frequency of the flat foot condition is more on the left sides, that is around 1.54%, than on the right side, that is only 1.05%. The feature may be helpful in approaching personal identity in the exclusion or inclusion of certain suspects. Now, we will study about how the footprints are collected. Footprints can be considered as a type of evidence, and collection can be done from various crime scenes. The stripe dimension, location of each footprint, its shape, size, angulation and deepness, interspaces and outer margins, heel, creases, injuries or accidental damages provide indirect information with regard to gait pattern, height of the person, length of the legs, range of the body, weight and interrelated movement of the foot, ankle, leg and the body that are individualistic to that particular person. Thus, the footprints, whether complete or partial or even a small portion, can provide evidences which may indicate the skeletal and the body structure of the person who made it. In a footprint, the specific arrangement of the bones in respect of each other and the manner they are kept by connective tissue are the result of heredity and environmental, and differ not only from individual to individual but also from left to right feet of the same individual. Even identical twins do not make identical footprints. For impressions in soil, snow or other soft surfaces, casting is the important and most commonly used collection method. For imprints, examiners generally try to collect the entire object containing the imprint, such as the whole sheet of a paper or a cardboard with a shoe print. When that is not possible, for instances, if the print is on black counter, the examiner would use a lifting technique to transfer the imprint to a medium that can be sent to the laboratory. As with any evidence found at a crime scene, shoe print and tire tracks must be properly documented, collected and preserved in order to maintain the integrity of the evidence. Impression evidence is easily damaged, so steps must be taken to avoid damage to these evidences. This includes securing and documenting the scene prior to the collecting any evidence. In the case of impression evidence, general photographs of the evidence location in relation to the rest of the scene are taken, along with the high-resolution images of the individual imprints or impressions. Examiner may use alternate light sources or chemical enhancers to capture as much as detail as possible, especially with the latent imprints. Properly photographic impressions is crucial since there is only a slight difference between different shoe sizes. If the photographs are not taken at 90-degree angle to the impression, then the true size cannot be produced in order to compare to the actual shoe. Whenever possible, impression evidence is collected as is and submitted to the laboratory for further examination. For shoe prints and tire tracks that cannot be picked up, various lifting techniques are used to recover the evidence. These includes, first one is the adhesive lifter. A heavy coating of adhesive lifts the imprint from smooth, non-delicate surface such as a tile or a hardwood floors, metal counters, etc. It is usually used in conjunction with footprint powders. Is the gelatin lifter. A sheet of rubber with low adhesive gelatin layer on one side that can lift prints from almost any surface, including the porous, rough, curved and the textured surface. It is less tacky and more flexible than an adhesive lifter, allowing it to pick up a dusty shoe print on a cardboard box, for example, but not tear the surface of the box. Next we have electrostatic dust print lifting device, a tool that electrostatically charges particles within the dust or light soil, which are then attracted and bonded to a lifting film. This method is best for collecting dry or dusty residue impressions on almost any surface, even the surface of a cardworm. Any plastic or three-dimensional footwear or tire impression can be collected by casting. Casting uses powdered stone material such as dental stone that can be mixed with water and poured into the impression. When it dries, this method creates a three-dimensional model or impression. Imprints and impressions may be further proceeded to enhance or bring out additional minute details. For example, a digital enhancement program such as Adobe Photoshop can be used to improve the quality of a photographed tire mark or tire track. Fingerprint powders and chemical stains or dyes can enhance the image color or increase the contrast against the background. This enables lifted or casted evidence to be photographed or scanned. Comparison samples are usually taken from suspects or suspect vehicle. Shoe samples should be patched or avoid to cross-contamination, and tire samples should be remain on the vehicle. The Scientific Working Group on Shoe Print and Tire Trade Evidence has published standards that discuss the minimum qualification and training for footwear tire track examiners. Additionally, the International Association for Identification, that is IAI, offers recommended study course for footwear and tire track examiners that takes participants through more than 550 hours of training. The IAI also certifies the footwear but not tire track examiners. Now let us analyze the footprint. Detection, documentation, photography and collection of imprints and impressions occur in relation to the crime scene of many types. Analysis of impression evidence is typically performed at a public crime laboratory or a private laboratory by experienced examiner. Tools and techniques which are used for this method. During the examination and comparison, examiners use tools such as dividers, calipers, special lighting or low magnifications. Examiners measures the various elements within the thread design as well as the length and width of the impression and then compare those measurements to what is seen in the crime scene, print or impressions. Low magnification and special lighting are sometimes used to determine if various characteristics are accidental or something that was created during the manufacturing process. Examiner perform side-by-side comparison by placing the known shoe or tire alongside the crime scene print so that corresponding areas can be examined. Test prints are also compared to the crime scene print. Digital images on double or triple computer monitors can also be used during the comparison. Now next we have the footprint analysis. Footprint of an individual is unique as his fingerprint and as such can be used for fixation of the identity. Even monozygotic twins can be identified based on the footprints. The footprints that are produced while standing are smaller as compared to those produced while walking. When a suspect is arrested, his barefoot impression can be compared to the bare or soaked impression at the crime scene or to the impression left inside the footwear that have been recovered. In the footprint examination, the shape, outline, position of the parts of foot are studied. Comparative studies have shown that there are wide variation among different persons and significant similarities for a multiple impression taken for the same person. Footprint can give valuable information regarding any pathology or individual characteristic, and this will aid in the identification process. There are three methods for barefoot examination which are commonly used. First is the gun method. Here we will recognize identification points of foot or connect it with one another by using a series of measured lines. Next we have the optical center method. A distinct point on the foot is identified and concentric ridges are drawn in its most suitable location. This point is then isolated and then connected to other recognized region of the footprint by means of lines. Next is overlay method. Here the outline of an identified footprint is drawn and positioned over an unknown footprint and compared. Features such as creases, lines, shapes and position of toes etc. are matched. Now we will learn about evidence submission and examination. Preferably the suspect's shoe and or tires are surrendered to the lab with the sized evidence. Examiners will use the submitted shoes or tires to make test marks or test standards. Impression of a known source which can be compared to the collected evidence. This is usually done using transparency, overlays or side-by-side comparison. For example, in case from Florida, a bloody shoe print was found on the carpet in the home of a murderer victim. The print indicate that there was a hole in the shoe that left the print. Investigators collected and formed the test prints of the shoe from the persons said to be at the scene at the time of the crime. The identification of culprit by overlapping the blood-spattered shoe print from the crime scene with the test print by footwear examiner made from accused shoe. In certain cases, an investigator should be requested to give shoes or tires or other persons for elimination purpose, like as a form of cohabitant of a home or from a first responder to a crime scene. Next we have shoe print analysis. Two types of markings are present on the shoe, primary and secondary. The primary markings gives the information about the marker of the shoe or its sole, while the secondary marking are due to wear and tear of the sole associated with the use. If there is an incidental finding, it will be useful because of its uniqueness and it's desirable to find its corresponding shoe before that feature gets lost with time or damage. The information from shoe can be obtained in three different ways, that is the outer impression, the inner impression and other evidence from shoes. What is outer impression? They are actually the imprints left on any entity that was produced by interaction with footwear. They can be found on the floor, doormats, carpets, doors or even the body of the victim. Example due to kicking. The inner impression imprints. They are actually the imprints left in the inside of shoe by contact from person's foot. Analysis of this insole impression can be used to link person to a piece of footwear. In other evidences considered is the body hair, body fluid, skin tags, dust particles, glass fragments that may be found on the shoes. The study of these trace evidence could be used to link the footwear to a location or a owner. DNA can be one of the contributing factor in forensic evidence from shoes. Now, let us summarize what we have learned in this module. The purpose of the present investigation is to study the shape, size, alignment of toe, humps, creases, cuts, cracks, pits, etc. of the foot so as to draw the conclusion for individualizing characteristic. Phalange marks are created by phalanges of the toes and are imprinted in the form of toe stands. Flat foot is a condition in which complete instep region of the plantar surface of the foot is impressed on the surface. The footprint of an individual is unique as his fingerprints and as such can be used for fixation of the identity. Even monozygotic twins can be identified based on the footprint. Two types of markings are present on the shoe, primary and secondary. The primary marking gives the information about the marker of the shoe or its sole, while the secondary marking are due to the wear and tear of the sole associated with the use.